Hello, and welcome to the Venue Coach Blueprint for Owners. I'm Kyle Labar. This podcast is all about helping you fill your wedding venue with more bookings, earn more from each one, and keep your customers happy for a long time. We'll also talk about some tough times and big lessons that I've learned along the way. Let's dive in together and make your venue the best spot for weddings. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Venue Coach. Today I wanted to talk about what to do when somebody asks for a refund. And this episode is it's tough. I mean, really it's tough. We've been in this long enough to get a few refund requests, and sometimes it is tragic, sometimes it is confusing, and other times it's just laughable. And so really every situation is different. So the first thing that we look at is what's going on. Like, we just try to figure out what's going on. So did the couple break up? Is there some illness in the family? We've seen medical bills, we've seen deaths in the family, we have seen just like financial hard times, those sorts of things. And we've also seen miscommunications and misunderstandings and that sort of thing as well. So it really depends on each individual situation. And so that's the first thing that we consider. The next thing that we think about is we try to think about how we would approach, like, what would be right for us if we were in their shoes. And so we've had one where keep in mind, we have a no refund policy, as many wedding venue owners do. We have a no refund policy. And so we don't have to give anything back. However, there are times where you can and should, in my estimation, and where we have, and there's times where we haven't, and there's times where we found other solutions. So the first step is we look at every individual case individually. The next step is we want to figure out what's going on, and are there alternative solutions? Then the final step is we want to approach it as humans and as fellow humans. So in some instances, like, we had one that wanted to cancel 1 week after they booked. And for me, no problem. I'll give the money back 100%, no problem. I know I don't have to. I know whatever, but it's been 1 week. Like, there's no point for me to hang on to that. We've had one that canceled 20 days before their event, and we said, sorry, like, that's what's going on. And that one was a miscommunication. They misunderstood something in their contract, and instead of asking us about it, they just ignored it, got upset, and then wanted to cancel. So we let them cancel, and they asked for a refund. We said no. But in the meantime, we said, hey, it sounds like there's a misunderstanding. Let's talk about it, and I'm sure we can work this out. Nope, they didn't want to do it. Other times, couples that break up, it really, that's sad. It depends on where we're at. So the big thing that we're trying to do is protect the business. And how we do that is the likelihood of us being able to rebook the date that they have locked in. So if it's really close to that date, like time-wise, so if we're a couple months out, like 2, 3, 4 months out, probably not going to book it. If it's a weekday, probably not going to rebook that. And so we have to protect the business that way, but we also need to approach it with compassion. And so we have rescheduled dates. We usually will try to do that if there's just like a main issue. Now, if the couple's broken up, then sorry about you. If it's within a certain time frame, no, we're just not even going to consider that. And that might sound a bit harsh, but again, we have to protect the business. And if we can't rebook that date, then we lose. And that could, for some venues, that could ruin the whole business, or it could lead you down a bad path if you start doing that. So all that to say is we want to have compassion when we deal with this. If there's an alternative solution, we look for that and we say, hey, can we reschedule this? Or, hey, why don't you, if you want, we've had one that said, if I find somebody else to take this date off our hands and pay the difference, like the remaining balance owed, could we then push ours into the future? We said, sure, Like, I don't have a problem with that. Because at the end of the day, I'm filling the date and I'm getting the money. I don't care who does it. And so we've entertained that. Like, we like to be problem solvers with our clients. And it just shows, like, for them that we're willing to work with them and take care of them if we need to, as long as we're able to. And if it's materially hurting the business, then we're generally not going to do that. The one caveat is if it's like 1 or 2 weeks after they book and they say, hey, we can't afford this, or we broke up and can we get our money back? Absolutely, I'll give them their money back. No problem. So all that to say is we just like to take that approach. Do what you want. Be compassionate or don't. But we have not lost sleep. We have not lost money in terms of like refunds and things like that by being compassionate. We typically find a good solution that works for both parties, and we find that people stay pretty happy with us. And so, anyways, take this and implement it if you want to. I hope it was useful for you. If it was, please stay tuned and for the next one and subscribe so other people can hear about this podcast as well. And I will catch you on the next one. Bye.